then you have something in you that says that this is wrong. And Noah had these things in him, and he knew they were wrong. And he preached to the people, this is wrong. We'll finish this in a sec. Go ahead, Linda.
Would you say that Noah would be, when he found favor in the eyes of the Lord, would be in the same place that Job was?
No, Job, well, yeah, kind of. He sacrificed for his children's sin, so he was a righteous and upright man, okay, and he lived an upright life. So in that sense, yes, Job is another example of man interdealing with God. Yes?
Like favor might denote his heart's condition.
Right.
He wasn't holy.
Right.
But his bent, his life bent
right.
was following God.
And that is, here is a very good example of what he said. There is a guy that, he was a missionary to China, and he evangelized a guy. And he said, why couldn't you have come earlier? He said, my father spent his entire life searching for God, knowing that he was out there, knowing that he existed, and he died before you came and gave him this message. Why couldn't you have come earlier? That tells you a couple things. It tells us that what we did yesterday in church is right, and that we should be doing it, and we should be doing it with all of our heart. And it tells us also that there are people that are seeking after God in contradistinction to R.C. Sproul, who says there is none righteous, there is none who seeks after God, taking that verse out of context when it clearly is referring to the 14th Psalm. The fool says in his heart, there is no God, there is none righteous, there is none who seeks after God. It's speaking of the atheist. Anyway, so going on in Romans real quickly, it says, because what may be known of God is manifest in them. We know it. We absolutely know it. I don't care what people say in New York City when they're at these homosexual clubs where they're all having fun and saying there's no God. They know they are doing wrong. But they suppress the knowledge of the truth in their own unrighteousness. It says, for God has shown it to them. How? It says, for since the creation of the world, his invisible attributes are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. Aristotle sat down and he said, there's a tree. Why is there no tree at all? In other words, that tree could not have created itself. And I'm using the tree for all of creation. Okay? There's a world. I'm here. Why am I simply not here? Because if there was nothing all along, then there would still be nothing. Ex nihilo nihil fit. Out of nothing, nothing. Right? So these people, whether it's Noah, or whether it's Job, or whether it's that Chinese guy, or Aristotle, they know because of creation that they are without excuse. They just can't attain this God. There's only one way to attain this God, and that is through special revelation. God specifically revealing himself, and we talked about this in that sermon. He does it through miracles. He does it through the Bible. He does it through the person of Jesus Christ. He reveals himself specifically in a way that we can understand that he is God and who he is. Without that special revelation, we're right back to Romans 1. We see a tree, we see a love between people. We know that there must be an ultimate standard of love because these two people are kissing and they love each other. We know it must be. When somebody bumps into my car and I get a dent and I get out and I get angry at him, it means there must be an ultimate standard of righteousness because I am righteously offended that he bumped into my car. Okay? Justice, mercy, grace, truth, holiness, all of these attributes of God demonstrate, when we demonstrate them among each other, oh, that's unclean, I'm not going to get near that. How do you know? There must be an ultimate holiness, an ultimate set apart. If there's not, then we wouldn't do any of these things. We would have none of these feelings in us. We'd be playing bumper cars. That's all we'd be doing, and nobody would care. But there is righteousness in the world, and Paul is saying that right here. Okay? They're without excuse, because although they knew God and they did not glorify him. The whole world is abounding in wickedness, it says. The whole world is abounding in wickedness, but Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord. Because although they knew God, they did not glorify him as God, nor were thankful, but became futile in their thoughts, and their foolish hearts were darkened. And he goes on to speak about homosexuality and lesbianism and all these other things. And then to slap God in the face even more, in verse 25 it says, who exchanged the truth of God for the lie, and worshipped and served the creature rather than the Creator, who is blessed forever. Amen. What are they doing? The heroes of old, the men of renown, the Nephilim, worshiping the creature. We do it with Arnold Schwarzenegger. We do it with Lily Lohan, of all people. I mean, she's been in jail 40 times, right? But that's what we're doing, is we're worshiping these people. What's that?
Lindsay Lohan.
Lindsay, whatever her name is. Yeah. Lillo or whatever they call her. Right? And then we have, I was listening to AM Tampa Bay this morning. I was driving and they said, we're going to have all of the old Tampa Bay Rowdies, and we're going to have all of the original Buccaneers. We're going to have all of these people, right? And come and meet them and get your picture taken with them. And that's the last thing in the world I want to do, is have my picture taken with somebody that played soccer, right? Or a movie star. If I saw Mel Gibson walking down the beach, the only thing I would do is give him the gospel. As soon as we put anybody, a pastor or a movie star or anybody on any level above ours, we have made a mistake. All right? It's fine to say, man, that's a great speaker. That's a fantastic pastor. But when he walks out, you just tell him great speech and that's it. You don't drool all over him and try to be his best friend, and but that's what we do. It's in our nature to want to idolize anybody that knows something we don't. We do it with doctors. We do it with insurance men. We do it with people. Look, ask Gary. The guy's got a house on Siesta Key that's as big as a hotel. And people follow after Ask Gary because he's a...
Gary?
Yeah.
Gary?
Yeah.
There you go. Ask Gary. Yeah, but this is we're worshiping the creature rather than the creator, excuse me. And that's what is going on here. Worshiping the heroes of renown, the men of old. Worshiping sex, worshiping violence and all of the things, but Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord. Then it says here, this is the genealogy, the Toledat of Noah. Remember I talked about the word Toledat and how it's spelled a certain way when Adam is mentioned, and it's never spelled that way again until the time of David. It is missing one or two letters. It's the same word, but that is telling us that something about mankind is missing. It's the sixth letter of the Hebrew alphabet, the letter Vav, which is the number of man, okay? That is missing. And there's something wrong with man in these generational accounts. And then finally we get to David, and the Vav is restored. That's showing that the line of Jesus Christ is finally coming in the person of David. And from him down, we have the prophet, the priest, and the king all lined up, and we're ready for the Messiah to come. Anyway, the generation, this is the genealogy or the generations of Noah. Noah was a just man. Okay, Job says he was, it's kind of the same idea. Perfect in his generations, okay? His generations means all the people of the world, the sons of God, the sons of men, and all these different people. They walked, Noah walked with God. Okay, who else walked with God?
Well, we talked last week about it.
His name was Enoch. Enoch walked with God, and he was no more, for God took him away, right? Noah also walked with God. God did not take Noah away. Instead, God left him here, and he carried him through the flood. All right? Now, we can go, we're not going to do that yet. We can go to 1 Peter 3, I believe it is. It speaks of 8 people were saved. And we'll get there in a minute. Whenever we get to the flood, then we'll go to Peter, and we'll talk about that. And Noah begot 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. We talked about this before. Shem is the father of the Semites, the Jewish people, the Arab people, the people of who we would call Semites today. All right? He is the second born, not the oldest. Japheth is the oldest, but the second is mentioned first. Divine election. Once again, Jesus comes through the Semites, through Shem.
Shem, you said?
Shem is the second born. Japheth is the eldest. Okay?
You know, I looked that up after we talked about that some weeks ago, and I don't find any translation that believes that Japheth was the first.
King James Version, Japheth the elder.
So Seth is number 2?
Yes, he is the second.
Okay,
Japheth the elder. Okay, no, Shem is the younger. We'll get to that verse, and then somebody look up the King James Version. We may have one over here. Anyway.
Wait.
You said Shem was the second.
Yes, Japheth is the elder.
So Ham was first.
No, Ham is the third. All right. Real quickly, we'll go to that verse so that we can get that cleared up. It would be, God remembered Noah, bring it out. I established my covenant. Let's see here. We got to find that. Cursed be Canaan. Ham, the father of... What's that?
So you say the King James Version, was that taken from a different text?
No, it's taken from the Masoretic text. It's a very complicated, the wording of it can mean either way. But there's no doubt, if you look at the doctrine of the divine election in the Bible, because every other instance shows the second being replacing the first. And let me see if I can find that. The sons of Japheth were, anyway, we're somewhere in here it says who was the older brother of, or we'll find that in a minute. We'll get to it eventually. But it does say Japheth the elder. And if we have a King James Version, or if somebody has one of those things that can look up the King James Version, just look for the word Japheth and elder and it'll come up. Anyway, where is that? The earth also was corrupt. Oh, I didn't finish up. Shem, father of Semites. Ham is the father of, like, Egypt and Ethiopia and Cush and Put and all these ancient names that are listed in the Bible. That is Ham, the Hamites. They were also in, what would you say? Oh, Canaan, the land of Canaan, were the Hamites, all right? They were the ones that were wicked, and God told them to be destroyed, okay? But Shem, Ham, and Japheth, okay? Then we have, Japheth is the people of which we would be the sons of Japheth, basically here. Cornelius was of the Italian regiment. That would be that area. There you go. And the black people in America are sons of Ham. Now, people will use that as, and I think I brought this up before, they will use that as a justification for slavery. And we're going to get to the verse here in a minute. It's not a good justification, all right? But people use those particular verses based on the way that Noah blessed and cursed his sons, okay? That's not good, and we can talk about that at some other point. But that's where justification for slavery, especially in the South, was maintained for so long in America. Is because, well, they're sons of Ham, and they're to be slaves. Yeah, I'll read you the verse real quickly. It says right here, cursed, verse 9:25. It says, then he said, cursed be Canaan, a servant of servants, he shall be to his brethren. There you go. We're Japheth, they're Ham. Make them slaves. There you go. Okay, anyway, and they use that as a text verse for that. Okay, the earth was also corrupt before God, and the earth was filled with violence. We've already talked about that. We went to Romans 1 to explain why that is. So God looked upon the earth, and indeed it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted their way on the earth. We've already talked about evil and how evil was introduced into the world. The evil is a lack of goodness, good things, okay? So this is not God creating evil. He didn't make a mistake. We had free will, and we brought evil upon ourselves. And when we deny, Romans 1, we deny the Creator and we worship the created, then we are doing evil. And all of this is our own choice. We bring about the calamities on the earth. You know, we talked a little bit yesterday about some friends of mine here, and we talked about the Japan. Was that caused by the Lord or wasn't it? How do we know? Well, Amos very clearly says, I think it's Amos 3:8 says, if disaster comes upon a city, has the Lord not caused it? Right? It's a rhetorical question. Yes, the Lord has caused it. He either actively caused it, as in the destruction of Israel, or he passively caused it by allowing things to go because of our corrupt nature. So either way, the Lord has caused it. To say that he didn't cause it is to say that God is not omnipotent or all-powerful, because that's saying he couldn't have stopped that tsunami from happening. He could have kept the plates in check, and he didn't. God is not omnipotent. The Lord allowed it to happen because of our sinful nature. All creation fell at the fall, according to Paul. That means the stars, everything out there is out of sync because man sinned. Everything. Anyway, what does it say here? Noah begot 3 sons. Okay, got that. So God looked upon the earth. And 13, and God said to Noah, the end of all flesh has come before me, including the Nephilim, by the way. All right. For violence, filled with violence through them. And behold, I will destroy them with the earth. Okay, make yourself an ark of gopher wood. Really interesting study. I think it was A.W. Pink that did it, that finds Jesus and the Trinity, everything all pictured in the ark. I mean, very wonderful. Yeah, oh yeah. Anyway, I don't have that in the back of my head right now, so we'll see if we can come up with some parallels as we go. But I heard about it. I didn't read it. What? I think it's Pink. A.W. Pink, not Pinkerton. I think it was Pink. Yeah. Yeah, there's a guy named Pink, and there was a Pinkerton too, but I think it was A.W. Pink that did it. Pink, P-I-N-K, yeah. And
has anybody, I think they have replicated the Ark, haven't they?
oh yeah, they got one over in the Danish countries. One of those, a guy built a giant one.